Welcome back, everyone. I am thrilled today, and I have to tell you why, because my guest today is Dr. Kevin Kramer. And when the electronics were going back and forth, I knew that I knew him and had met him, but I couldn't place it. And he was kind enough today to ask me, should I wait? Should I try to figure out where I met him? And he was kind enough to not make me wait. So let me tell you who he is, and then we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So Dr. Kevin Kramer, a thought leader with over 25 years of entrepreneurial experience, has successfully grown 9 business ventures. How exciting. We'll get into that for sure. He owns Kremer Leadership Institute, Kremer Dental Care, New Smile Now, easy enough for me to say, probably for his patients too after they get those brand new smiles, and AegisCare. Dr. Kramer's dental career spans over 25 years, providing exceptional full mouth cosmetic and implant dentistry. As a mentor and speaker, he's dedicated to helping dentists and entrepreneurs achieve new levels of excellence through the Kremer Leadership Institute and his new book, Quantum Accountability. Welcome to the show, Kevin. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, thank you. And so you were kind enough in the pre-show we were talking, and you said, "Do you want me to have you figure it out?" And I'm like, "Please don't, please don't. We could be here a while, and we don't have that much time to record today." And so we actually met in over in Hawaii. We were both speakers at Dr. Garg's IDIA event that was out there. I think there was 150, 180 people out in the audience, and it was fantastic to meet you there. And then we met at Dykema. I was laughing because I said, wait, we were coming out of the bathroom and you introduced me to your son. And we had a great conversation. Tell me about, so your son does your marketing for you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so you must actually like your son in order, or do you do it because you don't like him and you make him work for you? Is that the way it works?
It's funny when you go through business and life and you start your career, you never know how things are going to go. And it turned out, interestingly enough, my oldest child, my daughter, decided to become a dentist and now works in the company with us. And then my second child, my son, he was a collegiate athlete and got a business degree, and he decided to come back to the company as well. And so the mindset was, hey, you can be successful in any business, so I'd love to come back and join the family business. So now we've got 2 kids here working in the company. It's just a joy. It makes you feel like you did something right if your kids want to come back and join the company and work with you. So it's neat.
Well, it leans right into what you just said, right? It is one of those situations that as a parent, if you have modeled behavior and you've raised them in a place of love and encouragement and whatever field that they go into, whatever vertical, your oldest daughter, going into dentistry and then joining the family practice, because I'm sure she had many options, right? And then your son, who does marketing now, goes into the vertical of marketing and says, hey, I want to join the family practice. It leans right into, and it leads to my question, the Kremer Leadership Institute, because you shared that it's not just for clinicians, but it's also for entrepreneurs. And I think it was in your bio, 9 businesses that you have fostered and blossomed. And I think that's an amazing thing, that it's an example in your life, in your personal life, as well as your professional life. So tell me a little bit about the Institute, about what it is that you foster and what those individuals that can learn from that and what it is that you do.
Yeah, will do, Greg. Thank you. So, I think it's finally come around enough to know that, I'm not a dentist. I'm an entrepreneur that happens to be in the field of dentistry. And so what happens in life is you kind of discover who you are and what makes you tick. A lot of the excitement and the value is kind of growing and creating things and how we can make things better and improve things. And so I think a lot of people go into dentistry for that reason, is they like the flexibility of managing their own schedule, owning their own company. And so I definitely am an entrepreneur in the field of dentistry. And so it's gone from being a clinician to people reaching out to me and asking for help, whether it be dental practitioners or dental owners, because as we know, it's not easy to run a business, and it's not easy to run a dental practice when you're all alone out there. And so having peers, having coaches, having consultants, having people in your corner that you can seek out and ask for help is important. And so I've had dentists reach out and ask for help, and I have been coaching, consulting dentists, and then I've had other dentists say, "Hey, could you collaborate with me? Could you partner with me? Could you be a part owner, or could you acquire my practice?" Or so all forms of that. So it's really about helping business owners and dentists find out what makes them tick, what's important to them, and helping them to thrive and succeed in their interests. So, and then I have outside of dentistry other companies, because we realize that different business owners were dealing with a lot of the same issues. And sometimes if you get someone from a different industry, you'll get a slightly different spin or angle on things that'll kind of open up this, oh, that's cool. I didn't think of it that way. And you can apply it to your industry, and it really can be profound. So it's fun to collaborate with successful, forward-thinking people that want to grow and want to do well in life.
Yeah, so much to unpack there, and I love it. I absolutely love it. One of the things that I like to say is that there are dentists that are in business, and then there are business people in dental. And that's what you're describing. There are dentists that are entrepreneurs, and then there's entrepreneurs that their vehicle is through dentistry. And that's what you're describing as yourself and others that you come in contact with, that you are coaching or consulting, or those that say, hey, like, can you come in and either buy part of my practice or collaborate in my practice? Let's do some things together. And I love that mindset, because it's the same as I built up G&A Consult and started this 3 years ago after leaving Strawman Group as a part of Neodent and working in the Neodent, their value brand, for so many years, helping to launch that in 2014 into the US, and helping to build the brand what it is today. I can now relate so much differently to clinicians. Instead of them being dentists, right? It's business person to business person when I can relate on that level to them. And it is completely different. And something else that you mentioned right toward the end there, which is getting viewpoints from outside of dental or from different verticals, different industries, because they view things just a little bit different, to get out of that tunnel mindset, and to really open it up to entrepreneurs from all different walks of life, if you will, to add to your perspective. And that is something that I find fascinating. And, I have to ask this, because for me, I have accountability from individuals from many different walks of life. I've been sober 20 years, so I have accountability in that realm of my life. And I have individuals that are very successful in very different businesses, right? Very different careers, that I have accountability in personal development, and have found that with different authenticity that I use in my career now, having my own business. So your title of your book, Quantum Accountability, it rang in my ears. So where did that title come from? And you've got to tell me a little bit more about that, because it immediately perked my ears up a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a great question, and it's an interesting title. So, the quantum accountability, as an example, it's the reason why Jeff Bezos and Amazon dominated online sales. And it's the reason why Phil Jackson ended up with 11 NBA championship rings. And what I mean by that is, if you say Jeff Bezos and Amazon, for example, what he did is he didn't look at that as an online book company. He looked at it as a platform for selling things online outside of retail. And what he did is he instilled in his culture this concept that every single role, every single person in the culture is an innovator, is somebody who is thinking about change and improvement. And the quantum accountability is setting those things that are hard to measure, that physically we can't see. So the quantum means that it's something on a level that is not matter that we can point to and say, well, that's a chair, that's a desk. It's something, it's things like the words, we can't see words, our thoughts, what we're forming our mindset with, that determines the choices we make, that determines our level of success, both personally and in business. All of those things are formed on a non-physical level, and the accountability is taking ownership for that. And so Amazon, for example, and Jeff Bezos created these accountabilities of total innovation in their culture, and we are going to be this online sales company, and that creates the opportunity to take risks like, oh, we're gonna institute free shipping on orders, which when that first came out, it was a total loss leader, and it was like, you've got to be kidding me. But it ended up revolutionizing and transforming that business. So that's the example of a quantum accountability situation where I think, Greg, we're running into a time, and we started seeing this a lot with COVID, where people were getting lost a little bit and they didn't know what to do. And so we kind of started to build a society of, let's just sit back and let's expect a handout. Let's expect someone to feed us and take care of us. And it's important for us to shift and look at, all entrepreneurs understand that success comes from taking accountability or taking ownership for the results you're going to get in life. So your worth, your recompense is direct result of the value you provide to society, is another way to say that. So the reason why Amazon is worth so much is because it provides so much value to so many people. So if we take accountability for that and we own that and we say, okay, if we're going to be successful in life, it's up to us. Now, that doesn't mean we do everything ourselves. It means we seek out who we choose, like you're talking about AA, for example, or 20 years of not drinking. Is like, you choose to be in a network or a peer group of like-minded people that are going to hold you to a set of rules and principles. So you have to be very strategic today with, I like to talk about, we had this issue in this country, and we still have it, but starting in the 80s and 90s, we saw huge issues with physical obesity. So we lost track of nutrition and health and diet in this country, and all of a sudden people started getting really overweight because we were eating out of convenience. We don't know what's in our food, and we got really unhealthy. So the obesity epidemic kicked in. I think today we have an issue with mental obesity, meaning we are so overstimulated by dopamine fixes with the technology, which technology is so great if we put it to good use. But there are so many things that are striving for our attention right now with the technology, phones, streaming video, that we really need to put barriers or stop gates and set really good rules and structure for ourselves if we are going to be successful, so we know what to focus on. So when I talk about quantum accountability, I talk about how we develop our mindset based upon who we're spending our time with, our peers, the types of conversations we're having, who we're choosing as our coaches. Michael Jordan, greatest player arguably of all time in basketball, he had phenomenal coaches. He had Phil Jackson there, and then Phil went and did it with the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq again. So who we're choosing as those coaches is super important in life, who we're spending our time with, and what we're choosing to listen to and watch, what we're feeding our mind. That's the accountability and the quantum that determines our success in life.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, and I'm going to do the jumping off point, 11 Rings, one of the best books that I've read, definitely a top 10 by Phil Jackson. And he goes through the evolution of those 11 rings that he won, and not a single one was like the other. But it was all about the mindset, right? About Shaq coming in, and how is it that he could take so many big personalities and get them all on the same target, on the same goal, and set aside personal aspirations and get them all to play nicely with each other, right? I mean, you can go back to the Chicago Bulls days, and this was, I'm from Detroit, right? Pistons fans, right? Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings. You can see it in the background, right? That's a Red Wings jersey. Like, for those who are just listening through audio, hop over to the YouTube channel, and click like, subscribe, but take a look and that's Red Wings and up in the corner there as well. I say that because Dennis Rodman was a part of those bad boys in 89 and 90. Then he went to the Chicago Bulls, and that's where he started getting a little off the rails. But that was still a part of the Phil Jackson era. He still was able to keep everyone focused on what the prize was. And that was before he went to the Lakers. And then, Shaq was known as, well, will he fit in with, will he be able to maintain all of those personalities? And then he took some of the other players and literally made them role players that could have been starters on many other teams to get the prize, which was to win the NBA championship. And so it's that mindset that you talk about, and I love it. And the other piece that I think was, resonated so well with me, and I'm sure my listening audience, and you called it the dopamine hits, right? It is that instant gratification society piece, which, Instagram stories, we talk about it all the time in the marketing side of Full Arch is, how are people coming to you? If they're coming through the meta, right? The Instagram stories, swipe, 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 or going down the rabbit hole with the TikTok stories, right? It's that you have like 2 or 3 seconds and you're constantly going on to the next. There's no real connection anymore. And so now of putting phones on sleep or silent or do not disturb and off the table when you're having dinner with friends. That's a rule that my husband and I have, right? To be able to give full undivided attention. And I mean, there's times literally when it's like reaching for the pocket, it's not vibrating, right? But mentally you're thinking, oh, it's vibrant. Like, I mean, I'm missing something. It's like just being able to give that and being able to learn to disconnect from and taking meditation time and taking time for self, which, for myself with an explosive growth company, it's very difficult to, but it's so critically important. So I'm grateful that you pointed that out and brought it forward because it's so necessary for literally everyone listening just to take that in for a moment and to be able to internalize it and ask yourself, like, how much am I not doing that? What do I need to do to be able to lift that up? And so what do you find with those that you're working with, at the Institute and that you're coaching and consulting with and just engaging in everyday life? What are you seeing that are just some, I don't want to call them just a few tips, right? But what are you seeing that is the most helpful when individuals are at that state of, I'll call it mania, right? That they're manic with the disconnection and the instant gratification and those dopamine hits to be able to start to get back to real levels of connection.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we talk about that in the book Quantum Accountability, and we have sections. I say we, my wife co-authored that with me. And that was a fun project to do together. And so we have sections where we talk about self-care. And like you said, whether it's meditation or taking a quiet moment or doing Tai Chi, there's this concept of going on like a technology pause where we go on a little retreat where we don't have any technology, and the little things like the dinner table rules where, okay, no technology at the dinner table are huge. They're little tiny things, but when implemented, they have a significant impact over time. So to answer your question more specifically, it really depends on the person. So when we do coaching or consulting, it's looking at what are the things that are getting in the way of that person's success. And everybody's a little different. Some people might be on, say, email a lot. And so how do we create a cadence or a rhythm or a structure around the day so that the stuff that isn't really that primary focus work that's going to get you, it's not the 20% that's going to get you 80% of the results. It's not going to get you that 10x multiple or algorithm of logarithmic growth. If we can take those things, those have-tos, and really dissect the person's day or week and say, okay, what of this stuff really needs to be done by you? Is it possible we could delegate that to somebody else? Or is it possible we can put it, compartmentalize it? So, okay, I'm going to only check my email at, say, 8, 10 a.m. for 10 minutes. And then at 110 and 410, and just have little blocks of time where you chunk it, and you put these finite time schedules around things. You structure it so that you make time for what you know is really important, but gets squeezed out because of all of those things that are trying to draw our attention. And so we don't want to go on these rabbit hole little squirrel excursions on the internet where we're chasing off something and all of a sudden it's an hour and a half later and we look and go, holy cow, what have I been doing with my time? So we want to put really good structure around things after we determine what are the specific things in that person's life that are the fillers or the clutter that is non-productive.
Yeah, literally. Dr. Kevin Kramer, like literally from Quantum Accountability book. I could so relate with that. I was literally earlier today said to my executive assistant, I said, like, it's been so busy that I didn't honor the block of time that I have. I'm speaking on Friday. I speak often, you know this, and I didn't honor the time to do the prep work that I needed to. And so I like move the block to tomorrow. And so missing out on that block by busy work, it's not that it wasn't productive, but it felt like busy work. It's things that I could have put off or placed on somebody else's. So I love that. And I mean, and that was what I would consider somewhat productive work. And it wasn't the rabbit hole of TikTok or just videos that were, mind numbing or useless or just shiny keys, like just distractive, right? So, and you called it a tech pause. So I learned from, a spiritual accountability friend of mine. We called it a connectedness vacation, where we would literally, and I still do this, if I take time away, I will set a period of time when I literally will not look at any electronics whatsoever. And I get support from my husband and I'm grateful for it. Like literally, like I can't look at my phone, like no GPS, everything is shut off. And I do it for 48 to 72 hours to begin a vacation. It takes me that long to like completely decompress from all of the electronics. And I can physically feel it when it finally happens. And that tells me so much that there is so much tension in the shoulders, in the back, and just from the day to day. And it tells me, even with the meditation and the things, all the things that I've been sharing with you, that it's an accumulative thing. And so I appreciate you pointing that out. Well, Kevin, here's the part of the program. All my guests play a little something called What the Sleuth is Going On? It's 3 rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
Question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
Well, gosh, being a dentist, I mean, it's a patient who, opened their mouth and had extreme perio disease and hadn't been in the dentist chair for 20 some years, and all of their teeth needed to come out. And there were massive shelves of calculus, and teeth were just be hanging in by the gums and tons of infection. It was like, wow, that's powerful.
It's a tough conversation. There is a friend of mine who has perio breath and just he even brought up recently, like, I know I need to go to the dentist. Don't say anything. And I'm like, I just looked at him like, how can I not say anything? You know the line of work I've been in for 18 years. I have to say something. Yeah, so there's nothing like it. Now that I've been in it for so long, like I can smell it when I'm on a plane from like 6 rows back. Like it's just very distinct. Okay, good. Yeah. Question number 2. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
People say I have a nice smile, and
you
these
do. Again, YouTube. I'm just saying, if you're not looking on YouTube, watching on YouTube, come on over to YouTube. It's the 24-minute mark. Look at Dr. Kevin Kramer's smile. It really is nice. But please.
And, I didn't have braces growing up. Had naturally straight teeth, and so these are all my natural teeth. So that's envy.
Your son has a good smile too. Did he have braces or is it his natural?
No, he had braces, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All
But
right.
in today's day, all kids have braces these days, and
Right.
just to perfect little things. And with aligner therapy, it's just so easy and nice to do. So, but I actually did do some aligner therapy in adult life just to correct some little crowding that happens at the midline, on the lower as time goes on. But so not a whole lot. I mean, I'm trying to look in the screen right
He's
now,
looking
but
at the camera. He's like getting really close. Like we're just seeing teeth at this point. No, he's not. I'm just kidding. All right, fair enough. Yeah. So I was one of those. How they now that we're getting into the holiday season, all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. Well, I got half of that. I only one tooth came in first of my adult teeth. The other one came in later. And so I did have clear aligner therapy as well as an adult. But now, like, even though I wear my retainers like faithfully at night and everything, there's just a little drift happening again. So yeah, I might have to do some refinement. So anyway.
I'll say this from a third-party context is I did a lot of cosmetic dentistry. So I started out as a general dentist, did a lot of cosmetic dentistry in the 2000s. And that was a really cool foundation. And then I got into implants and all on X space. So I do primarily all on X surgeries now as my clinical practice. I still see patients like 5 days a month. So I like to keep a little wet finger there. And we have an all on X center that we're actually building in our town. But when you talk about a smile, not talking about my smile, but a smile in general, like it is, even as dentists, we forget this, and this is powerful. It is so impactful and life-changing when you change somebody's smile, and someone who hasn't had a nice smile and they've literally been doing this for 20 years, and then you go in, and if we can do that procedure and 3D design and 3D print, and they're walking out of that day with inserted PMMA teeth the same day. I have grown men crying in my chair, and they'll come back, a month or two later, and like I had this guy tell me last month, he says, "Hey doc, I knew you changed people's smiles, but I didn't know you were a matchmaker and a job maker." He says, I got a girlfriend and I got a job now and I got all the, and it's just, I mean, I know I'm a dentist and I'm preaching, but like we forget how impactful changing this is to the whole being, to the core, to the spirit of that person. They open up in the confidence, and it's just so cool. And in dentistry, if we can stay passionate about that and have enthusiasm and remember, it's so rewarding the work we do for patients. Because I mean, we also hear every day, "Oh, I have to go to the dentist," or "Are you going to give me a shot?" Like we have this profession where people don't want to come see us. And so when we can create this environment where people really enjoy the results, it's very rewarding. It's a very rewarding profession.
Well, and at G&A Consult, we work with full arch clinicians. That's what we do day in, day out, and have for many years. And the phrase like, "Oh, it's life changing," and those that are in it for so long, it's so hard to understand and comprehend the impact. I'll use your word, the impact that we have because we do it day in, day out. And it's almost as if we see the problems, right? Well, we're on a third prototype. Well, this didn't go right. Well, we had a failed implant here. Oh my gosh, this is a really tough case. Or, oh, their A1C is at a 9. We can't do this. You see all the problems rather than all of literally, I don't want to overuse the word miracle, but it is life-changing. People who wouldn't go out to dinner with their spouse because they don't want to eat in public, who now, what does that do to their relationship when they can and will? Like, what does that do to the coupleship? These are the little things, and you just brought that forward, right? These are the things that we sometimes miss and overlook. And as we teach, coach, and train the clinicians and the treatment coordinators in the whole office, this is really what we're doing. It's not the what, it's not the product, right? It's not the teeth, it's the why, it's the motivation, it's all the other stuff, right? To help them to see that. So thank you for bringing that forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and the comment you just made, I had another patient just 2 weeks ago say the same thing. It's like, you know what, doc, I wouldn't eat out in public. I wouldn't go out. And we were talking about it for a bit. And what we forget, if you go back to like Europe, is like so much of human experience of connection is at a table where we're sharing a meal. And for a person like that who is off to the side and not comfortable going out in public and they're eating alone, like talk about a huge like shift in their
isolation.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't
major.
get the human interaction. It is debilitating. It truly is.
It really is. And you know, I think we've been doing this long enough, and I saw the cosmetic boom in the 2000s. I mean, you're phenomenal in your teachings on All on X, and I love it every time you speak, and the information that you provide is just incredible. And I think it's important to say we've got to be careful right now, because some of these All on X places are just like, there's getting to be this mindset that so many dentists now, that's all they want to go into. And it's like, oh, let's just rip out everybody's teeth and put in implanted teeth. It's like, no, there's still nothing like natural dentition. Okay, so let's not forget that, and let's be the purveyors of the profession where we're here to take care of a patient. And I will say that in today's day, with All on X being so remarkable and so predictable, it is a phenomenal treatment option. And so if we look at the old antiquated, if someone has to have teeth out or is already missing teeth, the fact that we put a piece of plastic on their gums, a denture, and that was our option. If we can do fixed implanted teeth that aren't removable, that's most like natural teeth. That's what we want. But we do want to be careful about, oh, let's just rip everything out and put in implanted teeth. Because, you know, if this is a 35-year-old person and they're going to be around another 50 years, what is the lifetime of that experience going to be like? And, you know, so I don't know. I just want to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And what does next look like? I think it's super important that you bring that forward. And there was just a news article that CBS did that came out that talks directly to that. So I appreciate you bringing that forward. Well, I want to make sure that we get in question number 3 of what the sleuth is going on, because it's been hanging out there. So, and I think it's perfect and apropos for you, who has been an entrepreneur with 9 different ventures out there. So question number 3, if you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product, and no, you can't choose your own, sir, which one would you choose and why?
If I could invent any dental product, does it have to have been invented already?
I mean, I'm just, if you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product.
I would foresee it would be really cool, and maybe this is coming, that if we had to extract a tooth, that we could have a CAD/CBCT design of that extraction socket and be able to print a implant, whether it's titanium or whatever material, and insert it exactly back into the same shaped root socket instead of a bone graft, or instead of a conical, like generic shaped implant. Like, oh, we just took out number 3, upper right first molar. We're going to get a design of that socket and custom design the implant, insert it in, you know, and does it expand in and get, you know, an initial fixation. That would be a cool product.
That would be fun. I like it. That's very creative too. Love it, love it, love it. Well, Dr. Kevin Kramer, my guest on the Two Sleuth podcast. In the last few minutes, is there anything I haven't asked you that you just love to share with my listening audience today before we wrap up?
Well, you know, we could talk all day about a lot of different topics, from dentistry, you know, all on X centers and doing those procedures and how remarkable those are, and the different sides of that. And I think what's happened for me is the quantum accountability side. It's not just a dental thing, it's an everybody thing. And it is about how you manage yourself and your mindset to determine your level of success. Because really what you choose to do there, with the barriers and the parameters you make in your life, is going to have a huge impact over your career, over the additive effect of decades of time. And so I I think it's really good for people to find. I do want to say this, if you got a second, Greg, is we're at an interesting time in our profession with DSOs and private equity, and there's a lot of excitement of, oh, let's build this thing up. And I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business guy too, and I'm also a clinician, so I understand. But let's build this thing up and let's go after this multiple and let's sell it, and we're gonna sail off into the sunset and then make this big thing. Well, money's only money, and entrepreneurs who I was sitting at a wine bar in Sonoma the other night, and we're waiting for a table at an Italian restaurant. It's my daughter's birthday, so we went and did wine tasting. And guy sits next to me, and what do you do when you're waiting for your table? You strike up a conversation, and I talked to the guy. Say, hey, what do you do? He goes, oh, I started Hotmail in the mid '90s. So I Google it. I was like, yeah, it was started in, I think it was 94 for 300,000. It was sold to Microsoft a year later for 400 million. Wow. I did pretty good. Yeah. So like, oh, that's cool. But the point is, what are we, 30 years later? What's he doing? He's an entrepreneur. He's looking at businesses. He's starting up companies. And so the point is, all my colleagues who have had these big equity events or friends who have sold out something, they get bored, and a year or two later, they're back in it. So it's like, for me, and this is just me, there's no right answer. I'm really passionate about building up dental partnerships where we as dentists, we continue to own our profession. And I'm not saying it's wrong to sell to private equity, but for me personally, I think having a group of dental practices where us dentists are all owners together, I think that's where the best patient-centric and doctor-centric decisions come from. And it's hard right now competing with big DSOs because they're so savvy and so knowledgeable, yet there's power in dentists banding together and collaborating and owning practices together. And so that's what I'm passionate about as well.
I love it. That's some very inspirational words by Dr. Kevin Kremer, and he is the owner, and I'm going to highlight the Kremer Leadership Institute and the author of Quantum Accountability, because those resonated with me. Not that all the rest of your accomplishments and what you have going on isn't important, but I know for me, a little bit of a selfish reason that, what resonates most with me and lands the most, and I'm sure with my listening audience, along with all of the other accomplishment. And I just love your passion for dentistry and what you bring forward. Continue shining and speaking and sharing and coaching and partnering with other dentists and leading the way. Thank you so much for your time today on the Tooth Sleuth podcast.